Hey, I'm Bear. I'm the general manager here at Northstar Canoes. And the first thing I want to do is apologize for the fact that this is not going to be a slick video production. There's no spot in our shop that's got a beautiful backdrop to do a video with. So I'm going to do videos in the shop. And so that means we may hear radiant heating in the background. There may be a vacuum pump. You can certainly see the detritus of a day of building canoes all around me. And if you could stand here with me, you'd smell the resin, and you'd probably notice first that my videographer is a GoPro on top of a bandsaw. So that gives you an idea where we're at. But regardless, I'm going to try to do a series of 8 videos that just talks about who we are, our design philosophy, our laminations, our trims, our tandems, our solos, and then some weird stuff about canoes at the end. So we'll see how I do. Please try to watch them as a series because I'm going to refer to things in previous videos and they'll just flow together well. But first I want to take a second and just talk about why I love canoes. Canoes allow for a shared experience in a way that no other human-powered, silent, nature-based sport does. Experts can go out with beginners and have the same trip. That's amazing. Stop and think about that for a second. Parents can take their children out and they can all have the same experience. Kids can take a nap while you're paddling. Tell me you can do that with other sports so easily. Years ago, when we were getting Northstar off the ground, I was working with the marketing company for the website, for the logo, and I asked them to come up with a tagline. You know, one of those nice pithy statements that says who you are. At Bell, ours was nothing moves you like a bell. And that's a pretty cool one. And you know, these guys came up with some stuff and I went, I'm not excited about any of those. And so I let it sit. I just shelved it. We didn't have a tagline, no big deal. And then a couple of years ago, I came up with one that I'm excited about, and it's Share Wonder, because it talks about that sharing aspect of things. And then what's wonder? It's being out on the glassy calm lake with the Milky Way above you and the northern lights dancing in the sky. It's the moose crashing through the brush when you come around a point. It's the wolves howling at night. It's the loon that dives underwater and comes up really close to the boat such that the kid in the boat goes, oh my, and watches the loon just call and dance around the water. Those are Share Wonder experiences. That's why the tagline's cool. I don't know of any other craft, any other sport that allows you to travel for a couple of months without the need for resupply. You can do a really long trip in a canoe. That's amazing. That's wonder all by itself. We work with a local guy. He's a polar explorer and an environmentalist named Will Steger. We built a Phoenix canoe for one of our Phoenix canoes for him, and we cut off the ends such that he can slide it off of an ice shelf, because he's been doing what he calls ice out trips, spring trips. He drags the canoe along frozen lakes, and then when he hits the open water because rivers open before lakes do, he paddles. That's amazing. And you can do it in a canoe. Canoes interact with land and ice exceptionally well. Excuse me. We're used to explore the whole interior of North America because you can paddle up to a beaver dam and pull the boat over. You can load and unload them really easily. You can portage them super easily. Canoes allow you to interact with land. Where do kayaks excel? Well, kayaks excel on the perimeter of North America. They were developed on the northern perimeter of North America because they interact with wind and waves exceptionally well. And so when you bring a kayak up to a beaver dam, it's more challenging to get out. When you bring a canoe onto the open ocean, it's not as seaworthy as a kayak. Those are the trade-offs. Canoes were developed where all of us live. That's why they excel so much around our homes. Canoes really were developed on every continent except Antarctica. Most of the continents had dugouts. That was the primary way to build a canoe from time immemorial. And what's a dugout? It's cut down a tree, cut the ends off, you know, make it a log, and then start burning it and gradually scraping out all that area that you need to remove such that you can actually get inside the thing and actually it becomes a canoe. So it'd get burned and burned and burned and scraped out with stone tools, and eventually be a dugout, and you'd paddle around your local waterways. There were bark boats developed in certain areas, and of course they were fairly heavy bark boats for the most part. And why were dugouts and bark boats so popular? It's because on all the other continents, you can only travel in a certain area. You know, think about Australia. There's really very little you can do that isn't coastal. There's a little bit inland stuff. Let's talk about Europe. You can paddle the rivers, but it's hard to connect them. It's hard to jump across the continent in any significant way. South America, Africa, same deal. You know, you've got South America, the Amazon, you get stopped by the Andes. Africa, you can go up and down the rivers, but you can't cross the continent. Asia is a little bit more unique in the sense that there's 5 major rivers that flow into the Arctic Ocean and Siberia, and you can jump between those with some pretty significant portages. That's as close as you can get to what North America offers. And what does North America offer? Well, we're in Minnesota, and about three-ish hours north of us is a spot, and it's unique on the continent, where you can paddle south down the Mississippi from there. You can paddle east out to St. Lawrence, and you can paddle north to Hudson Bay. That's pretty stunning. Those 3 watersheds all begin roughly in that area. You've got access to them at least. That's pretty amazing. And by the way, the Grand Portage is 8.5 miles. That's what gains you access to those 3 watersheds. That's the longest portage. There's a portage in Alberta called the Methy. That gets you access to the rest of the Arctic watersheds as well as the Bering Sea. Stop and think about that for a second. North America is unique. It's amazing. And that's why the birchbark canoe was developed and perfected in North America. Lightweight canoes excel in North America because we've got such an interconnected continent via water. That's what makes lightweight canoes make sense in our world. And next, I'm going to talk about who is Northstar. And so that'll be part 2. Thanks for listening to this one.